hard to see with rosemary. But everything in the mint family has opposite leaf branching, right? So you'll see two branches across from each other the whole way down, right? Two, two, two. And then when you get to an actual branch, that's where you want to snip it. You don't want to go too low. Oldest growth doesn't grow back, right? It does sometimes. It doesn't. It does. But, unless you really know, just, don't do the oldest growth. And then, it's just things like that. But as long as you snip just above where that note is, caldo de pollo. Nice, pollo. Caldo de pollo. So I know chicken, but what's caldo? Do you mind explaining, Shadow? I can look it up, of course, but I'm going to write that down. That's why I have this notebook here. I have notes to read off of, but caldo de pollo. Soup. Okay, cool. That sounds delicious. Yeah. So, this is my mint plant right back here. And that's, it actually needs transplanted. It's deceiving. It's not actually in the pot that I'm holding. It's been there for a week, though. It's fine. But, so really, like I said, I'm not doing a true oil extraction today. This is just to show you. And then all you would do, I'm going to still use this. And my favorite benefits coming up there, Chad. I'm going to show you, okay? It might help if I took the safety thing off or whatever. The whole thing comes with it. All right, there we go. And then you just pour it in there, right? Again, because this is little rosemary, normally I do measurements. You find the weight of the plant you're using, and you do a volume appropriate to a ratio. We'll talk about that in future streams. Like I said, this is not an extraction stream. Those are for the future. And some I've already done. But because this is a little tiny bit of rosemary, you really don't even want to do that much. You can probably fill it up to an unknown amount and just guess, because you're going to push all that rosemary down. This is sesame oil, Casey. Unrefined, first press, medium heat. Well, they just say that you can use it with medium heat. But it's just sesame oil. I don't have enough olive oil to waste. It's not a waste. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to use this for, all right? And some of you might laugh, and some of you might not. But a really common thing people use infused rosemary oil for is to promote and support hair growth. So, it's not going to save somebody who's bald, right? I got a big bald spot up there. It's not going to fix that. But it supports hair growth. It makes your hair healthier. And multiple forms of rosemary do that. And it's a skin tonic, right? So, because it promotes circulation, you can use it as a topical oil. And because it's an oil, it'll make your skin nice and smooth. But also rosemary, especially say if you're dealing with certain types of pain, mostly muscular pain, it will help ease it. I'm not saying it's going to be a cure-all fix, but it's going to help. It's one of those things that is considered an anti-inflammatory, and it's a dramatically potent antioxidant herb. And I don't like refining herbs to single categories, but unfortunately that's how I was trained, and that's how a lot of people are trained. So you can do this, you can cover it, Really what you want to do with oil extractions is to cover the herb in oil, in a jar, Another note I will tell you, again, we're not focusing on the extraction part right now, but if you are infusing fresh plants into oil, you need to make sure that when it happens, you decant the water separate from the oil, because every fresh plant has water. If you leave water in your oil, it goes rancid. You can even do an experiment with it if you want in your kitchen, but just trust me, don't even go. So what would happen is I'd use fancy lab equipment or jerry-rigged kind of thing that helps me with that. Or you can just do the long, tedious, pour all the oil off until you see just a little bit of oil and water, and then stop. That's the tedious way. There's easy ways to do it, and we will talk about it in the future, especially if you all stick around. But because this is not a true oil extraction, I'm not measuring it, everything. I'm just snipping that much and I'm pouring that much in. I'm going to let it sit. And by tomorrow, I might start using it as a hair oil, you know? And if you're questioning, you do it before you shower, wait like an hour and rinse it out. In fact, if you really want to, if you like think it's not coming out and you really want to get it out, just use vinegar and then rinse that out with soap or something. I don't know. Do whatever you want. But rosemary's, and people can use it for beard oil and stuff. Like any of you who got a beard, Casey, I think you got a little beard going on. You can use rosemary oil as beard oil. You know, that's like a common thing that you see in the store nowadays. Beard oil is not separate and much different than most oils that exist out there on the market. It's just a manly product that they have to, you know, market differently to sell better or something. You know, it's really not different. It's shaved my VTuber yesterday. Well, Casey, I'm just talking about in real life. I think I'm one of the few people on here who might have know a little bit what you look like, but kind of sounds bad. Oh yeah, that does sound bad, Casey. That does sound bad. Like I said earlier, I just transplanted this, so it's going to have a lot more room to grow. It was starting to get close to root mound, and that's a no-no, right? So I took it out. You might be able to see it in the VOD, and I took, you know, made sure the roots were loose enough, gave it some new soil, and it's good to go. All right, but before I move on, any questions, comments, concerns? Because I know I talk a little fast. There's a lot to talk about, so I kind of jump around when I think about it. As time goes on, this will become way more organized. But I want to have a chance for you all to ask questions. I want a chance for you all to, you know, anything. Even just be like, whoa, well, I thought this, you know? And I know chat goes a little slow compared to me talking, but I'm trying to incorporate as much as I can and not just rush through it, though. And so, for those of you who have been watching me for a little bit now, you saw demonstrations on is rosemary something you can buy at Wally World. Yes, you might actually be able to. Can you explain the water extraction bit again, please? Yes, Nicola. Nicola. Let me know what you want me to say as your name, and I will say that. I don't want to butcher your name. Nick. Okay, Nick. So it was not a water extraction that we were talking about. It was an oil extraction. I will gladly do that, though. So the oil extraction, but Nick, so just so you know, I do streams that are specifically, oh, oil separation. Okay, is that what you mean, Nick? When I was talking about the water? Okay, let's talk about that. So I'll go ahead and do an experiment. Ready? So this is a jar of water. Let me. All right. So let's pretend that this is. Now, no, there's still water in there. Just a whole lot less. Okay. So if you extract any fresh plant in water, in oil. Forget what I just said. If you extract any fresh plant in oil, like this might not, and every plant's different. Every plant is different. Rosemary doesn't have compared to a lot of plants, it doesn't have a lot of water in there. But by being a living thing, it has water in it. It is a biological being. That will be extracted into the oil, especially if you leave it long enough, right? which you want. You want it to extract all the goodies. In order to do that, you can do low heat. You can do. Oh yeah, welcome in, Nick. Welcome in. Um, you can do low heat. You can do cold infusions, which are my favorite. They don't ruin any of the integrity of the herb, and they don't take the chance of ruining the oil. So the thing is, no matter what, oil always floats on top of water, right? For anybody that doesn't know, that's the thing. If no matter what, eventually a little bit of water is going to come here on the bottom, right? And so if I pour, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of sesame oil, right? The lids on these things are weird. And I pour it in there, and then we'll just let it sit for a second. So that oil is floating on top. Now again, this is going to be, you're going to have a whole lot of oil with just a little bit of water, right? But in order to get that oil off the top, it's not really that possible. But there's a device I have, which I should have pulled out today. But again, this is not an extraction stream. There's a device I called an oil water separator funnel. And it's a laboratory piece. You can use various other things, but it's a cone. And you pour it in, and it has a little drip spout. And you just let the oil and water separate, and then you drip out the water real slow. The other way to do this in a normal oil extraction is you're going to have just a little bit of water floating on the bottom, is to pour off all the oil you can, right? Pour off all the oil you can. I got nothing to pour this into, or else I would. Until you see almost what you see here, where there's like a water and almost impossible amount of oil to get. You don't want water in the final product. So they call it decanting. You decant it until there's just barely any oil left. And then you have just oil. But Nick, I'll explain those things in the future. If you stick around, there'll be streams where we specifically extract. In fact, real soon. I'm trying to, once a week, do an herb of the week, which is what today is. It's real casual. We're just hanging out with the plant, especially if I get to grow it, which last week we talked about ginger. And unfortunately, the stream's no longer up because I forgot to highlight it. And I'm only given 7 days until I hit affiliate. Then you get 14. But we talked ginger. So I'm going to have another ginger stream in the future because I want to re-record it. You know? Plus, it's a great herb to talk about in the... Oh, nice. No, nice. You saw the vid. Cool. Before it disappeared, because they disappear fast. And I'm glad you think it was good. It's a little sloppy right now. I'm a little unorganized. I have all my stuff and resources available for anybody who wants to talk further. Like anybody who's curious, wants to know. Because that's the thing with herbalism. It's a big, broad, wide topic. And there's so many ways to look at it. And there's different ways people are trained in it, right? So I'm here trying to explain my understanding of it, and I hope to meet people that also have an understanding of it that I can learn something from. There's a lot of pieces of herbalism that I don't touch or hardly touch. There's whole astrological schools of herbalism that I don't mess with. I don't not believe in them, but they're not my focus. They're not the reason why I choose an herb. They're not. It's in my mind. It's not any type of any. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If people are into that, they're into that. And if it works for them, it works for them. I just don't understand it, and I don't necessarily not believe it. It's just not any of the way that I work with the herbs. And so there's lots of pieces of herbalism that I won't talk about. But if people come in with questions, I will gladly talk about my perspectives, you know. And so that's what this is here for, is mostly for other people with interest to come and find out maybe things that they never knew. And for me to do the same, you know, part of me teaching is also learning, you know. And this is something that I've been doing for a long time, and I kind of have been less public about it in the past 3 to 4 years. But I'm a certified clinical herbalist, and I've worked in a clinic it was just in the clinic for a year and a half. but I've seen clients for about 3 years, and I don't really do that too much these days. But it's more that I just don't promote myself towards it, um, for multiple reasons. Um, but I'm here just trying to, I have a lot of fun with a lot of this stuff, and something that I really have a passion in towards herbalism is aromatics. So you're going to see me in the near future distilling essential oils and hydrosols, talking about how to use them, and kind of also like stabbing myself in the gut, because my big spiel with those are thinking outside the bottle. Like, you really don't need to buy this little tiny, so spelled like aroma, Casey. Aromatic. So it's anything, it's a molecule or a plant that is easily detected by your nose, right? And like, um, so an aromatic, I don't know the actual definition, but my idea of what an aromatic is anything that is volatile, which means easily lifted up and diffused into the air. Um, and usually they're oil like substances. Um, so during my ginger stream, I did show you the bottle of ginger hydrosol that I have, and that's gonna be I'm gonna be making more of that. So that'll be probably the first herb I distill is ginger, because I'm growing it, and then from there we might move on to conifers and things like that. Yeah, exactly, Casey. So essential oils are aromatics. I just use the term aromatics